Welcome to Talk South Asian to Me, Season 2. My name is Mashal.
And my name is Anusha. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central and hear us react to each other's stories about mental health and growing up in different South Asian households.
And remember, this podcast is not therapy. Engage with what feels entertaining and resonates with you, and leave what doesn't.
So today, as Michelle said, we are in episode 1 of season 2. Yay! We made it to season 2. So we're going to follow a typical format from last season, with the alphabetical episodes, with a little bit of a twist. So this season, we will be periodically interviewing some guest experts. And to kick off season 2, today we have a guest expert for you to talk about our topic for A, which is Ayurveda. So without further ado, I want to introduce her to you. Our expert today is Serena. She is a pharmacist turned Ayurvedic practitioner and health coach. She's also a mom to 3 amazing children, and she's all about living that balanced, holistic lifestyle that's rooted in the healing power of nature. So before I go on and on, I'm going to let her introduce herself. Serena, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, ladies. Lovely to meet you. Thanks for having me on. I'm got 3 children. So had a very busy last, I think my son's turning 20 years raising the kids. Initially studied in the UK, did a pharmacy degree and worked in healthcare, clinical pharmacy, and spent a lot of time, dealing with patients and clinics and all that kind of just heavy Western medicine. And and then went into more holistic medicines, just learning about them, kind of not formally, and then went back to university to study Ayurvedic medicine. And originally from the UK, but now have been living in Southern California for the last 12 years with my family.
All about the things that you learned about Ayurveda and how you integrate it into modern medicine. I'm sure that's a big chunk of everyone's interest too.
Okay, so the next question we have for you is that can you define Ayurveda as as if you would explain it to a 5-year-old?
Okay, I love this question because it really made me think about a good analogy. And I thought a cool way would be to kind of explain it like if you had a car and your body was a car, and Ayurveda is actually the user manual to teach you how to take care of that car. For example, how to make it best run smoothly. So, what is the best fuel that you need to put in your car, which would be the right food to eat, how you're supposed to drive it, the right speed. Boys like to go a little bit faster, girls probably a little bit more cautious. And that would be like what, not to go over big bumps and things like that. And that would be your activities in your life about what is the right thing to do in life and what isn't. And then, when you should stop to refuel your car, which would be, when as a person you would have to take rest stops and, do things that help you unwind and relax and how much sleep you get. So that would be the rest stop for the car. And so basically Ayurveda just teaches you the best way how to take care of your car and keep it in good condition so that you can keep driving it really well for as long as possible.
Wow.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, I love that analogy too. It's
that
so
fit really well.
Yeah, it's very seamless. You explained it very, very, very well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of years being a mom, so I hope it makes sense. I should have tested it on my kids first. So
definitely follow that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of really simple actually. I think one thing about Ayurveda is it's really it's the simplicity of it. It's just peeling everything back to the basics. It's not as complex as people that are coming into it can feel a bit overwhelming. But I think that's my most important message is really break it down. It's really quite simple once you get the basic blocks into it. So
yeah, that makes sense. And how did you become interested in Ayurveda, and how'd you become so passionate about it? You even went, back to school.
Yeah, so obviously, as a kid in school, going back, I just love science, I love biology, I love the body. So didn't knowing about Ayurveda so much as a science, I kind of just went into Western medicine and did pharmacy. And then Ayurveda, I'm from Indian descent. So I kind of grew up with it without really even knowing that all these remedies that your
Sure.
mom's doing and your grandmothers are doing, that their grandparents and moms have passed down to them, like getting things out of the kitchen, all these spices. You just lived with it, right? You didn't really know, oh, yeah, I'm going to have tea. Why do I'm going to drink this yellow milk at night? I didn't understand any of it, but you just did it, right? You just did it because you're supposed to do it. And how I got into it is just actually from being in Western medicine, kind of getting a little bit disillusioned with all the drugs and all the side effects and seeing the unnecessary stuff that was going on and really thinking, well, does everyone need to be taking all these things and doing all this? Is there other ways? And once I had my children, actually, I kind of really went myself for my family into holistic practices, looking at homeopathy, looking at, craniosacral, different types of massages, and getting all into kind of all different types of holistic therapies, kind of spurred from the kids and wanting to bring them up more naturally. And then from then, I didn't really even know what the Ayurveda was, a medicine kind of thing. I think we've been quite sheltered from it in the Western world at that point. Like I'm talking when I qualified 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So I kind of just started reading about it, got some books, just started trying to educate myself. And then realized that if I really want to deep dive into it, I need to go get some formal education. And really feel credible to myself, and not for anybody else, but just to know that I've really learned this the proper way. Coming from a science background, I just felt like that I had to do it that way. And then I just researched into schools because there's so many schools that are just giving 6-month courses and saying that you're a practitioner when in effect it takes years. So I found an amazing school here in Southern California, and Southern California University of Health Sciences. So and they have an amazing Ayurvedic medicine program. So I just went back to school and just went from there.
How long was the school then?
So you can do a counselor course, which is just the 1 year. And then you can do 2 years, which is an Ayurvedic practitioner course. And it's pretty intense. And you have exams, and it's like a full-on college degree. And then you've got the doctorate, which has just been bought out as well. So,
wow.
Depends what
I didn't even know that US had that.
Yeah. And it's they're actually trying to get accreditation now with NAMA, and trying to make it like how Chinese medicine is now an official kind of medical practice covered by insurance and things like that. So that's kind of the next stage for us in Ayurveda as well.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question I have is that being a former pharmacist turned Ayurvedic practitioner, like the health coach, the expert you have a unique perspective. So in your opinion, how does Ayurveda coexist with modern medicine?
I think that they could integrate really well, because there's so many facets of what Ayurveda looks into that modern medicine hasn't got the time when you go see your doctor to even begin to look at. So I always say to clients, friends, go get your medical checkups done, go get your blood work done, go get your scans done, your ultrasounds done, because that is amazing to have that insight into your body scientifically. So, that's one way that you can really get an insight into what's going on in the body. Ayurveda does have its own way of looking into what's happening in the body, which is through pulse diagnosis, looking at the tongue, looking at the eyes, feeling the skin, and looking at signs that the body's giving, these are ancient techniques. But I definitely feel that you can integrate the both, and everyone definitely should, where you've got access to it. The other way is that I feel that modern medicine, you've got the surgery. Like if you're having heart issues, you can't sit and take herbs for 6 months hoping that it will help. You've got to go get the treatment.
Right.
If you need a surgery, you've got to go do it.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like one should impede the other. But Ayurveda focuses a lot on prevention, disease prevention in the first place. And it teaches you to know yourself, like, who am I? What do I need as a person? which the problem that I had with the Western medical model is it treats everybody the same. Like everybody gets this drug and everybody gets this prescription and everybody gets this. And it just doesn't work the same for everybody because everybody's not the same. And that is what made so much sense to me when I started officially studying Ayurveda, and I realized that this just makes so much sense. How can one prescription fit everybody? Everybody's got different, strengths in their bodies, weaknesses in their bodies, different temperaments, different things going on. You're a man, you're a woman, you're a child. How can one thing just fit everybody? So they definitely can integrate very, very well. And that's hopefully the goal for Ayurvedic medicine to be brought into the forefront, where now we can be in Western hospitals, and you, as well as going to see a doctor, you can consult with a practitioner. One of the main things is that doctors don't have the time to sit and spend an hour to 2 hours with you trying to ask you, well, what do you eat? What exercise do you do? How's your sleep? How many times do you poop? What's the stress in your life? Because this is everything that we look at. We look at the whole person, which is so important, because you're looking at a holistic view of a person rather than just the disease and the illness. Western medicine just tends to focus on treating the disease, whereas Ayurveda is looking at where did this come from? What's the root cause of it? And looking at you and your whole lifestyle, your daily routine, your personality, the things that you're doing on your daily basis. And we look at all that. So it's not really interfering. It's definitely going to complement Western medicine. And the hope is we can kind of merge the two. That would be great.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do you feel like
it's holistic?
Do you feel like, I just have a follow-up question. Do you feel like that these Ayurvedic practitioners are currently up and coming and like coexisting with these, medical doctors and providing consultations for patients? Or do you feel like that's still growing and developing, that practice?
It's still growing. It's still, I think definitely within the last 5 to 7 years, we've seen a huge shift in people wanting alternatives to just getting drugs, and wanting natural alternatives. But I don't think we've been fully accepted as a medical science yet. I think there is a long way to go to build that credibility, and then that's why getting the medical certificates in the US and approved by the medical councils is going to be huge. So definitely still evolving, but there's definitely a huge need and a huge interest, and just because it works, so people are finding so much benefit in it. People are feeling well. People are telling other people, I did this and it helped me. So it's definitely growing and being accepted more and more.
Right. That's why we're so surprised to hear that you've studied for it in California. I was like, I mean, if anywhere, California for sure in the States, but even that it's in the States, I mean, that's amazing. That's, I think, already a step in the right direction.
Yeah. There's several.
There's a doctorate.
There's good accredited schools that are here where the teachers that are teaching have got amazing medical credentials and really respected in the field, even back in India. So I think there's been huge strides within the last 5 to 7 years.
Accepted, because I think that would be an amazing benefit for everybody, honestly. Push, I think lately, like you were saying, for people who are really seeking out alternative medicines and longer term care and like more interest in like holistic wellness, which is definitely needed.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I don't know if many people know, but Ayurveda is actually the sister science of yoga. So they actually integrate really, really well. And as we know, everybody knows about yoga. Everybody's doing yoga. There's all types of yoga. Like, I'm not going to go into it. Some really weird
There's all
stuff,
kinds. Hot yoga, yin yoga, yang yoga. I've heard a lot.
Goat yoga. I think
goat yoga.
I was like, what? And it kind of pulling away from the whole point of it, and it's getting a little bit crazy. And I feel like people should try and find an authentic source of teaching wherever they can, authentic schools, because you kind of lose, it gets diluted, the whole practice. But as you can see, like yoga's grown. So yoga is like taking care of the mind-body connection. So Ayurveda integrates also with that. And that's why I think people are now like, oh, I know yoga, but what's Ayurveda? Oh, okay. There's a manual to kind of help you live a healthier life. Oh, how do I can, there's a blueprint for me. Like, what am I supposed to eat? What am I supposed to be doing? What shouldn't I eat? Whatever, and I think it's growing because of the interest from yoga, which is great.
There was something you said earlier that I'm a little bit curious about. You said that, with medicine the way it is, it's kind of a one solution fits all, whereas with Ayurveda, it's very much individualized and customized. And I'm a little bit curious about that. So what is that process of like figuring out how to customize solutions, quote unquote, for each individual? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, the best way I do it is to see a practitioner or a doctor, first of all. There's plenty of online kind of quizzes and things you can do. One of the first things to kind of figuring out your personality type, your body type, your mind type is called figuring out your dosha. And that kind of gives you a blueprint of who you are, according to what you look like, things that you like, kind of behaviors, mental facets that you have. And you kind of go through a questionnaire actually, and it's really quite easy. And you'll recognize, okay, yeah, that's me, or no, I don't really like that. Like, I don't like the heat, or I'm always really cold, or, so you go through this quiz, and it can be like one page if you're going to do a brief one. It could be a couple of pages if you're going to do it with a practitioner or a doctor. And it kind of gives you your blueprint. And the three main doshas are Vata dosha, Pitta dosha, and Kapha dosha. Nobody is ever really just one. Usually a combination of two. Very rarely you'll get someone that's a bit of all three. But what you do, you kind of then total up which of the ticks you have. Do you have more Vata characteristics? Do you have more Pitta or Kapha characteristics? Then you get an idea of, okay, I'm mainly Vata with a bit of Pitta, or I'm definitely a Kapha because I have these traits and I recognize that in myself. And so then from that, you get kind of a blueprint of yourself, of your body, of your mind. And it looks at everything. It looks at your mental, the way that you think about things, your skin, your hair, your body type, your body shape. It looks at, cravings that you have, all these kind of things. But you take that blueprint, and then from there, you can build on that and be like, and Ayurveda gives you very clear cut, okay, this is things that a Vata should not do and should do. These are foods that a Vata should eat and shouldn't eat to stay in balance. Now, and same for Pitta, same for Kapha people. So you can then type yourself as I'm a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, or a little bit of a blend of all three. And then it gives you, and it's like a whole world opens up of, oh, no wonder I realized that when I eat beans, I get this like huge gassy stomach ache. And okay, well, you're probably a Vata person that doesn't deal with that well. Maybe you shouldn't eat the beans or substitute it for something else. Or, I really hate the heat and I hate going out, but I'm eating loads of chili, spicy foods. Well, you're probably a Pitta person. You should really stay off heat-inducing things that are going to make you more hot. And so it kind of gives you like cooling foods you should be eating, and also not just foods. So you have foods, activities, like what kind of exercise you should be doing for your personality, your body type, what kind of sleep patterns you should be having, what kind of meditations are better for you, what kind of exercise you should be doing. Like a Vata person really shouldn't be going out, really going on really crazy runs and really wearing themselves out, because a Vata person can get really drained really quickly. Vata people should be doing more relaxing yoga, walks, swimming, whereas someone that's a Kapha who's very sluggish really needs to work out, really needs to do intense exercises. So it kind of opens up a whole new world, honestly, and you're just like, wow, like this is what happened to me. I was like, wow, like if I'd have known this like 10, 20 years ago, it would have been amazing. And it can really help little things in your life just to know yourself and who you are as a body type.
Yeah, definitely. That's so fascinating. I've actually on my last trip to last trip to India, I went to an ashram and they were talking about the doshas. So I was so excited about it. I came back, I took a quiz,
Oh,
and
amazing.
I was, I believe, a Vata and a Kapha, I think, both. But
Yeah.
I definitely had elements of all three, and that was just very confusing. I was like, okay, then what do I do? I have all three.
Yeah, and that's cool. So cool that you did that, because it definitely people want to know about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
People want, and that's what I found so amazing, is that people really want to know. They want to learn about themselves,
Yeah.
and then they get these quizzes and these tools, and it really just helps you on day-to-day things like food and exercise and
Mhm.
sleep, and so many things beyond that. And then obviously beyond that, that's just your personality type and your mind and body type. And beyond that is then dealing with illnesses that your dosha is prone to getting. And I couldn't believe it when I
No.
started really learning in school about this, is that, oh my gosh, yeah, these are the illnesses that if I'm going to get run down, this is what happens to me. Whereas to my sister or my husband, they don't get that. They go out of balance and they're off doing their pitta kind of meltdowns and stuff, completely different. And it's just
Mhm.
so on track. It's just so like correct uh to your dosha. And then when you know that if I go out of balance, you can learn how to avoid that and how to
Mhm.
keep yourself in check and in within
Yeah,
these boundaries of health. So
definitely.
it's just incredible, really
Yeah,
amazing.
awareness is definitely a good first step.
Oh,
Yeah.
A particular like quiz or site that you recommend to find out what your dosha is?
honestly, a lot of the great schools have got just decent quick quizzes. Like I know
Mhm.
Chopra, Deepak Chopra's website has got a nice
Mhm.
little quick
Yeah.
quiz.
Okay.
Places like Dr. Vasant Labs school, he's got a great one. I don't know if you've heard of Banyan Botanicals, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, so they're like a herb. They do all the Ayurvedic herbs and teas
Yeah.
and things like that. They have a nice little quiz on there. Alternatively, you
Oh.
can get like a nice little book, which I've actually got here, which is a really cool, like, quick reference book. Um, and it just gives you a quick rundown of um, everything. It's not too in
Mhm.
depth, and this has got a
Sure.
really nice little quiz in there. So yeah, just and any of those kind of Ayurvedic bigger schools, and then any of the herbal websites, they've got
Yeah.
a nice.
Gotcha.
What is the book called? Just
Oh,
for
this
our
is just
audio listeners.
Ayurveda, a quick reference that
A
has a nice little
handbook.
quiz in there.
Okay.
Who's it?
Uh, this is Dr. Krishalgar. But then we
Okay.
also have, I always have my books on ready. Deepak Chopra is just so great. I sleep with
Perfect
Perfect.
health.
books about. Yeah, this has got a really good. It's a bit of a thicker one, and it's been
Oh yeah.
used a lot. So that's Deepak Chopra one,
Deepak
which is really
Chopra.
good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. Nice.
Thank you for sharing those resources.
no
Yeah.
worries.
So I feel like this is a good segue into our next question then. Are there any like top 5 things that you would want people to know about Ayurveda?
I think that Ayurveda, like I just explained, is not a one size fits all like Western
Mhm.
medicine, right?
Mhm.
So you might see someone else going, "Oh, I was told to go do this and do this and do this," and that's fine. But my
Yeah.
doctor told me not to take ashwagandha and and
Mm.
not to go on 10-mile runs. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's very individualized. It's very unique, which is the whole point of it. Is that it looks at you as a whole person and as an
Right.
individual. So there's none of this one size fits all and one thing for everybody.
Mm.
And it's actually not just for physical health. Ayurveda's got so many facets to it. So it looks at the mind, body, spirit connection. It
Right.
looks at meditation. It looks at
Mm.
also yogic postures. Like I said, they're very interconnected. So Ayurveda will also teach about yoga for conditions, for general health as well. But if you've got a certain health condition
Sure.
as well, it'll be like, okay, do these
Mhm.
postures. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of meditation involved in the Ayurveda teaches um, about food, things like that. So, um, it's not just only about physical health. Ayurveda also teaches things like, which I was quite surprised about, actually gemology, which is learning about different gems and crystals.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Also about color therapy, about how different colors can
Oh,
affect your moods.
oh.
What color is a good color for me to wear or you to wear or have in your bedroom, things like that. Which I was like, oh wow, I didn't really realize
Yeah.
it kind of looks at everything.
Okay.
And
Truly
this is like
holistic.
and it's a 5,000-year-old science, and they were looking at these
Yeah.
things back then. It's
Mm.
not
Impressive.
like a kind of woo-woo science that's a new age kind of thing. This
Mm.
is very ancient Vedic wisdom that's been passed down thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, and in those days, they were incorporating these kind of elements to life. So, yeah, definitely, that's one of the things. And it's not one of the misconceptions I feel like a lot of people think is because it's Indian and it comes from India, it's not a religious practice.
Mhm.
Right.
Ayurveda is definitely a science. So Ayur means life and Veda means study. So Ayurveda is the study of life, like how to live life. There's a book, there's a manual, like we were kind of given this knowledge about how to live a healthy, well balanced, and just a vibrant, healthy, happy life. About how to control your thoughts and how to, eat and sleep, and like all these kind of different things. Um, and it's definitely not a religious practice. So that's, I think, one
Mhm.
thing is
Mhm.
an important point to make to new people that are coming across it for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
That kind of flows into our next question too. Like you kind of explain one common myth about Ayurveda, but are there any other common myths that you maybe have encountered or heard or experienced from other people when other people think about Ayurveda?
I think one of the things is that people think Ayurveda takes a long time to work, but um, not really, because when you're looking at lifestyle, which is Ayurveda is very heavy, and if you're going to do one
Mhm.
thing, and you want to start somewhere, I would definitely say look at your daily routine and your daily
Mhm.
practices. And once you start
Sure.
implementing the daily routines and the health practices to take care of yourself, the results can be so fast. You start feeling better so quickly.
Mm.
So, yeah, the herbs side of it, they need to accumulate in the body, right? As do Western medicine.
Mhm.
The herbs need to get to a certain critical threshold, which drugs can do obviously a lot quicker, but herbs also can because you're ingesting them. Depends what kind of results you're looking for with the herbs. Yeah, some herbs can take a long time. Some herbs you'll see a much quicker effect. But Ayurveda doesn't in itself take a long time to work because it depends on what you're implementing.
Mhm.
Like like I said, if you go in and if you fix up your sleep schedule, for example, and you're
Mhm.
sleeping and waking up at the right time, and you're implementing some of the self-care practices that Ayurveda is so great at explaining, and um, you can have really, really amazing beneficial effects within a really short amount of time, physically,
Yeah.
mentally as well.
I know on a previous podcast, me and Michelle were talking about sleep and how I've
Mhm.
been. I heard a podcast by, can't remember her name now, but she had talked about the importance of sleep and the right sleep windows. And so, Michelle, update. I've definitely been keeping
Yeah.
up with the
That's
10 p.m. to 7
good.
a.m.
Nice.
And that was the quickest I've ever felt better doing any changes in my life. Just doing 10 to 7 helped me feel so much more energetic and less like lethargic within like 3 days, I think. It was so
Yeah.
fast.
And just things like knowing when to eat, because some people there's a lot of buzz about intermittent fasting. Now, it's great
Sure.
to give your body that rest, but it's not for everyone. Some people are starting to
Mhm.
feel really weak with a huge window.
Mm.
And just
Yeah.
learning your body type and learning when to eat at regular intervals and how much to eat at regular intervals, and, you know, just implementing eating at the right time on schedule is huge. And then you'll see
Mm.
again, like with your sleep patterns, aligning with the circadian rhythm, getting your meals on check.
Yeah.
Like, for example, having a kind of a mid-sized meal at breakfast, not skipping breakfast skipping breakfast isn't actually good for everybody.
Sure.
Having your larger meal at midday, which is what Ayurveda advocates, because your Agni, which is your digestive fire, is the strongest between 12 and 2, which is midday. It's like the sun, right? So we're aligning with the circadian rhythm patterns of the sun. And so like the sun is the hottest at midday, your digestive fire is also. So it's going to digest the food. It's going to extract the nutrients the best. It's not going to sit in your stomach. You're not going to feel that lethargic because you'll have time to burn that off and digest. So having your biggest meal or the largest meal of the day at lunchtime is a huge thing, rather than having, in our culture, I think especially, you come home and everybody has this huge meal in the evening, and then no one can move afterwards for hours, and you're so tired. And then you're going to sleep with all this food in your stomach, and then you can't sleep properly because you're so heavy, and your body can't heal and clear out, which is what it's supposed to be doing in the evening time. It's supposed to be healing, rejuvenating, detoxing at nighttime, and it can't because it's digesting this huge meal. So once you just implement something like that into your life, it's just changing your meals. That is huge. And I tell people all the time that it's not complex. It's such simple changes that you can do, and you're really going to see huge results and quick results just from doing simple things like that. It's not going to cost you anything. You don't have to go out and buy hundreds of dollars of supplements if you don't want to. You don't need to. And it's just simple, really easy, simple changes that you can just go and do.
Well put. And this, again, is a great segue into our next question, which is, how do you personally incorporate Ayurveda into your daily life?
I think, again, the biggest thing for me was learning these daily routines. Is knowing that as a Vata person, I can't sleep late. My husband likes to sleep late. He's a night owl. He doesn't like going to bed, and I was like, I can't do that, because knowing yourself. So I have to think, for me, is like knowing that I need to be in bed by 10:30, otherwise I get really drained. And knowing that, and I've had enough sleep, because that's really important for me, is making sure I've had enough sleep. So I do that as much as I can. Again, meals, incorporating meals, having meals on time. A huge thing for me was learning, really just cutting back on snacking. And if I felt hungry during the day, knowing that, okay, you know what, have some seeds, have a bit of fruit, knowing not to have fruit at nighttime because of the sugar spike that it gives, and have your fruit in the morning, or an hour or so after your lunch. Things like that, really simple, basic things. I can't live without tongue scraping. I don't know if you girls have tried it, but
I do it like every day.
It's a very Indian thing, like a desi thing, isn't it? Yeah,
the tongue scraping. Do you do it?
Yeah,
I try to do it every day. It makes a difference.
Oh, huge!
I can't not do it even per day.
Exactly. Once you start,
I just got one for my husband. Now he does it too.
It's actually addictive because you feel so clean.
Right.
Until you try it, you don't get it, right? And it's one of the just simple things, like it's a $5 tongue scraping thing. It's not expensive, but it makes such a huge difference, because in the morning, your body brings up toxins, right? And to clean your palate for the day, your body's detox through the night, and you'll see on your tongue, because it's one of the windows into your health. You'll see patches and different stuff going on your tongue, which an Ayurvedic doctor or a practitioner can then look at. You send pictures. This is what my tongue looks like in the morning. So it's a diagnosis tool, right? But also the ama, which is the toxins, are brought up in the morning, and you're scraping that off, which is great, and you're cleaning your palate for the day. And so that has been a huge game changer for me, as well as oil pulling, using coconut oil, sesame oil, just to oil pull with. So these really amazing ancient techniques of just keeping up to speed with your just self-care. And that's really what it is. It's just self-care. A game changer, I would say, for me was as a Vata person. So I have dry skin, I have cracky bones, and I didn't know that I really needed to oil up, so using sesame oil, for me, and it's called abhyanga in Ayurveda, using a warm oil pre-shower, just 5 minutes. Longer, that's great. I think Ayurveda says 20 minutes. Not everybody's got 20 minutes to have a nice little massage every morning. So 5 minutes, leave it on, pop in the shower, wash it off is huge because you're letting all those oils and lubrication, and it really calms the nervous system. So also just like literally it's so healing, just feeling that touch of a massage on your own body, that it makes such a huge difference. So just implementing things like that is what I feel has made the biggest difference to me. These self-care routines is kind of something that you do get so used to that once you start, it's kind of, oh, I can't live without doing that. I can't live without doing that. So it's the benefits of it is like, again, pretty immediate. You'll feel it.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah. Those are really helpful tips. Something that
Yeah.
can be manageable, you know.
And it's really, you talk about these specific examples. It's like giving me flashbacks into my childhood and like the things that I've seen, you know, either family members do or the things that I now do because of, you know, these very like you said, ancient wisdom, but to me, it's like very family wisdom, which I guess is the same thing passed down. It's really cool.
And like you said, the family thing is like, why are you oiling my head? I don't want to put oil in my head, you know? And now it's such a cool thing to go get a Shirodara, which is the oil on the forehead, and it's a new therapy, but it isn't because it's like thousands of years old, which is really great for calming the mind and anxiety. It helps insomnia. There's actually been now so many medical studies that are being done, and you can read them on the medical journals and things online, into actually one of my professors at my school. I'll give him a plug. He actually did a research on the mental benefits and effects of Shirodara, which is pouring oil on the forehead on insomnia. And it's been proven, all these therapies now are being proven by modern science. And it's gaining that credibility in the Western world.
Yes.
It's sad that we have to do that, but I also think it's necessary at this point, is that we're using these therapies, running the trials. It's okay. We've got nothing to hide. Run the trials, do the testing, and let's see the results. And the results are speaking for themselves, is that these therapies, these holistic ancient therapies, actually really do help. Now, just a simple oil massage of the head is so calming to the nervous system. If you've got anxiety, if you've got stress, if you've got depression, if you are just stressed out, or, you know, just for health, hair health, you know, adding brahmi oils, which is for mental clarity, you know, adding amla oil for cooling the mind, and also really great for hair health. So it's a kind of win-win. And all these therapies now are actually being proven to have, you know, so many health benefits. So yeah, and it's like you said, it's things that we've grown up with in our culture, wondering like, why do I have to do this? This is gross. And then now everybody wants to do it, and it's cool. So I'm actually really happy about it, because I think the more people that we can reach, the better it is, because that's what it's about. It's about healing and sharing the wisdom and sharing as much natural healing as possible to help as many people as we can.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, very, very, very well said. So the next question we have for you is that, you know, if someone is learning and hearing about Ayurvedic practices in their life for the first time, what's a good starting point for them? Where should they start?
I would definitely do if you can do a dosha quiz, that's always fun. And you recognize parts of yourself. So definitely say, go see a practitioner, go see a doctor, or do one online if you don't want to go into that deep, and just learn a little bit about yourself. And that's always fun and interesting. And then read a little bit about, you know, okay, what foods are good for me? What activities are good for me? Like I mentioned, that's always a great start. And then really where Ayurveda can have its most impact is what we've discussed, is the daily routine, which is, again, looking at your sleep patterns, looking at your eating patterns, looking at your meal times, what exercises are you doing, and then just starting to incorporate all these different little things. It seems like a lot, actually, and I think people do tend to get overwhelmed, because I remember in my clinic initially, when you get a patient coming in, you want to tell them everything, right? You want them to do everything because you want them to know about everything. And then you realize that they come back like 6 weeks later and you're like, yeah, I did those 2 things, but I couldn't do all of that all in one go. So, and I get it, and it can be overwhelming. So what I would say is, first of all, is just start with your daily routine. Look at self-care practices like we discussed. Try and fix your sleep schedule. Try and fix your meal patterns like we discussed. And just start to implement the self-care. If you can do an Abhyanga once or twice a week, that's great. Once a week is great, better than nothing. If you can just take some time out for yourself. If you don't know how to meditate, that's fine. Just sit quietly, take out 10 minutes in the morning or an evening or wherever you can, and just start to just zone out and just, the simplest way I can say is just follow your breath in and out, no forced inhalation or exhalation. And just start to do these simple little things into your daily routine. That's where I would start. There is so much you can then expand into and grow and start doing. But it can be as a newbie, a little bit overwhelming. So I'd say definitely looking at your eating patterns, your sleep, and just doing a little bit of self-care. Yeah.
Those are good starting points.
Wonderful.
It's really hard as a practitioner not to throw the book at someone. Because you want and scare people off, and I've had to become wary of that. Like, oh, take this and do this and do this, and people can't do it. They can't implement 10 different things in the same go. So the best way to do it is start with that, and then be like, okay, now I'm going to look at my foods. I kind of fixed up my sleep and eating patterns. Now I'm going to start figuring out what foods I need to eat. Okay, now should I really be doing that exercise? Because Vatas are supposed to do this, and maybe, I need to kind of calm down with the runs, or I need to calm down, or I need to, maybe do something that's a little bit more exertion for my body type if I'm a kapha, things like that. And then start implementing maybe a little bit of changing how you're working out. Then you could start implementing a little bit of, 10 minutes, 5 minutes a day of breath work. Okay. And then be like, okay, learning a yoga asana, maybe starting with a sun salutation, doing 3 a day. You can really start more. And once that's easy for you, you can build to 5, and then take a yoga class. There's just so many ways to elevate your practice. So, just starting with the basics.
Yeah. I like how you emphasize that, like, it can be really overwhelming. So taking baby steps is important.
To see, like, it's so clear your passion for this, and you're like, I just want to, I want to share everything, and like, I love that passion. Because it is really cool, when you get introduced to something so life-changing, so beautiful, so like deep wisdom, you just want to share with everybody and like give all the good feelings to everyone.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And you just want to tell them everything and be like, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. And it is, and then you kind of be like, okay, maybe they can't do all of those things at the same time, all at once. And that's had to be a learning curve for me as well. It's going to be step by step, and obviously if someone's coming in with a health condition, that's different, because then what you do is you're telling them a little bit about the daily routines, but then you're looking at the health and you're trying to bring them back into a balance. So then that's much more about looking at the medical perspective of how have they gone out of balance, because Ayurveda is about maintaining that mind, body, spirit balance. And once we start to go out of our balance is when disease can start to creep in, illness can start to creep in, mental imbalances. Some people start getting anxiety or depression. Some people start, having physical symptoms and illness. And when we let those things get out of balance is when things kind of get worse, and the longer you leave it. So that would be a different way at that point. When someone's coming to you as a practitioner of, okay, I've got eczema, or I've got really bad menstrual cramps, or I'm not getting my periods, or I suffer with migraines. Then you're looking at from a very medical perspective of, okay, let's treat that. So looking at the daily routines is a great, if you don't really have obviously you can implement it anyway, but if you just wanted to do that, that's great. But if you're looking at to treat a condition, then it's a different process. So I just wanted to make
Sure.
that distinction, that it is definitely a whole different process when you're looking at a disease state, to just looking at daily routines and, kind of self-care stuff. Then you are looking at the herbs, the foods is huge.
Right.
You're looking at also a lot of therapies. Ayurveda has so many therapies that we actually do. It's a very hands-on, a lot of body work that can be done from trained practitioners. So then all that side of it can come into it as well. So it's definitely a huge distinction between that when you're going to a practitioner for a health issue as well.
So well put. I feel like a lot of like kinship to you, because when I do therapy, like I'm all about balance. The name of my practice, Anthara Counseling and Wellness, Anthara means balance in Sanskrit. And I've definitely gone through that learning curve too, of being like, I'm so excited to share everything I know, especially when I when I learn some like really deep healing stuff for like therapeutic work. For the first couple of clients, I think I was just like very overwhelmingly like, oh my God, let's get started. And here we go. But it's important to have passionate people when you have things as delicate and important as, healing.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's actually another point, that with Ayurveda being relatively new to the West, really to look into who you go to, look at credentials, I think is really important.
Yeah. Right.
Because there are a lot of people that are putting out courses that aren't regulated,
Sure.
that will give them an Ayurvedic health counselor certification, that is going to give them a practitioner. And then you've got to really look into, before you go to someone with an illness or an ailment, is where did they study? So that's one piece of advice that I definitely think is so important. How many years have they been in practice? Where did they go to school? Who is their mentor? Have they written a book? Is always a good sign. Have they, have they done further studies? Have they specialized? Have they done any research reports and things like that? So really look into where they've studied and their credentials, because we don't have that right now, as a new science coming into the West. So that's an important point.
Yeah. Credibility is very important when it for a growing. But you're right, like you said earlier in this call, that like unfortunately we do have to focus on that, but it's also important as well.
So our question's a little bit, I have more of a fun question for you, Serena. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be? And it could be related to our topic or unrelated.
Oh, okay. 18. That was a really long time ago. I won't tell you how long ago that was. Honestly, I just say, don't worry. Like, stop worrying. I just don't take it all so seriously. Yeah, life is serious. You've got to, you've got to work, you've got to have the kids, you've got to do, achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. But I think it was the worry, and me being a typical Vata person. That's the thing. Now, when I go out of balance, I'm just like worry about everything and overthinking. So definitely I recognize that in myself, and Ayurveda definitely helped me to recognize that trait, which I just thought it was me. Oh, that's just me. But being it written down and in books, and being like, oh, this is you, and this is your body type, and this is how you will start to think if you go out of balance. I was like, oh my God, this is just what happens to me when I'm not kind of centered. It's the worry and the anxiety. So that's really helped me. And I think I would just say not to worry, just take it easy and just enjoy life, and not to overthink it so much. I still struggle with that. And it's a constant process of having to rein in your thoughts, having to not overthink, because certain doshas have certain mental traits as well. Pitas are more fiery and reactive. Kaphas will just shut down and, kind of get into depressive states, whereas Vatas will be like anxious and anxiety and stressed out and worried. So recognizing in that myself, going back, I'd like to say, try to calm down on the worry of it all. It's okay. just take it easy.
That's a good reminder for me too right now.
Yeah.
In general, it's a nice reminder. I like it. It's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. I think
very applicable and relatable.
Yeah, and then once you get more into the meditation side of things, you realize that just connecting with the present and the past is gone, and there's only so much control you've got over it, right? So and then you worry about the past and you worry about the future and you miss the present. So, and then that moment's gone. So yeah, just to really center in and just enjoy the present moment, and just be grateful for what you have right now and not to worry too much about the time that's gone and that you can't control things you can't control anymore. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know if you really listen or get it, 18-year-old me, but there you go. Probably
fair
think
enough. You don't know what you're talking about.
So the last question we wanted to end this with was that, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners, our viewers, or audience members?
Yeah, I'd like to say that Ayurveda is so amazing and so beautiful and has so many facets to it. And just to try it, just to read about it, you don't have to take any herbs. You don't have to go and spend a lot just to learn about yourself. It's such a great tool for healing. Just pick up a book or go on a website or listen to a podcast. There's so many podcasts now on Spotify and YouTube and things like that. Is just to go out and just start listening to what it is about. And something about it may resonate with you. And if you can pick up one thing that helps you in your life, that's great. Just one thing that resonates with you, and you pick up a tip or you pick up something that you didn't know before about, your health or food or anything, then that's great. Just to go and just to give it a chance and put yourself out there and read about it. And then I'd also like to share that I've actually stepped away from practicing for the moment and focusing more on teaching and just trying to spread the word about it and how simple and effective it can be as a life science. And on that note, I actually just launched my own supplement brand. It's called iEssentials, and just launched my new product, which is called Ojas Drops, and hoping to expand that. So if anyone would like to go look at that, it's a great product. I'm not going to talk about it too much. Shameless plug. But yeah, and it's just about how to use the herbs that can help you bring yourself back to balance. And as a pharmacist, knowing the techniques and the processes that the body can use to absorb, I kind of realized that the liquid supplements are great because they're absorbed into the body so much more quicker. And the problem with Ayurvedic supplements is they don't really taste so good, right? So a lot of people will give prescriptions and you've got to boil the teas and you've got to boil the herbs and they taste really awful, some of them. And then obviously, you can get capsules, which is great. But I've really gone into doing a lot of research into liquid supplements where they're easy to take. You can put them in your bag and you can pop them in your teas and pop them in your drinks, and you're getting concentrated, potent forms of the herbs. And you're not having to do all the boiling and the kind of carrying like 10 different bags of things around, bottles and stuff. So that's kind of my focus, is on just making Ayurveda more accessible and just easier for people to use the herbs. And then also combining that with a lot more education on the website. So I just launched that in December. So I'm really excited.
Wow, congrats.
And I really want to have a huge free educational component to it as well, so people can come on there and just learn about it. Really the main goal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And we'll definitely, no shameless plug here, all important plugs. So we'll definitely tag you in our post when we, when this goes live, so that everybody can find you.
Yeah. And I know you're on Instagram already, right? The iEssentials, so people can find you there. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And I think the idea that you have, right, the supplement, the drops, I think that's so neat and such a great idea, because you're so right? There's sometimes when it comes to these different herbal and Ayurvedic practices, you have to put some effort in, right? You have to boil teas, you have to grind, right? Like you have to do all the different things. And like you said, it might not taste good. And so this is a good alternative that also gives those same benefits.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
awesome.
one of the things that I realized is that I was taking all of the herbs, and I got 3 children, and I was trying to give the herbs to the kids, and the kids are like, no, disgusting.
Yeah.
And I just felt so awful, because I'm like, I'm taking all of it and I'm getting all these
Yeah.
great benefits, but the kids are
Mm.
just not getting it. And it was like, how do I get the kids to take the supplements and get all these great benefits, like the Brahmi? My kids are in high school and college and studying, and wanting them to, and the Amla and the immunity and so many amazing herbs. And so that was what really was kind of made me put my thinking cap on, is that, okay, what can I really do? So that was really great for me, because I was able to use my pharmacy background and really know about formulations, and to then try to formulate something that tastes good, the kids can take, and it's not a big process, like you said. You can just drop them into their drink, their bottles. And my first blend actually has got a lot of the spices in it. So it's got a lot of cardamom, cinnamon, clove. It's got saffron in it. So it actually tastes like chai. So
I love that.
I wasn't. Yeah, so it actually tastes good. Like I put it in my chai, I put it in my coffee. The kids put it in
Yeah.
So it's about like being able to give it to everyone, because not everyone, and especially the elderly generation, they can't swallow like a ton of capsules either.
Sure.
And the kids can't either. So it's about accessibility. It's about making Ayurveda more accessible and easy to use as well. So that's my hope anyway. I hope and pray that I can reach more people and everybody benefit from the science of it.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you
amazing.
for sharing. Yeah. Like your journey, like hearing about your journey and like your background and your passion is very inspirational. It's very admirable. And thank you for sharing.
You've given me renewed excitement to get back into some of the ancient wisdom from family, from culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because you realize that everybody wasn't crazy doing all these things, right? All these kitchen remedies. And that's the other great thing, is you have a lot of the stuff in the kitchen. And, just these simple remedies and ailments, it's not expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. Knowing what food to avoid isn't expensive. Knowing, grinding up a little bit of ginger and doing, this and that. It's not very, it's very accessible. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's actually a lot of fun once you dive into it. So I just hope that we can reach as many people as we can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, here's to hoping. You've reached one person for sure.
We'll make sure to tag you on our posts.
It was so fun to speak to you both. It was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Absolutely. So to wrap up, if this resonated with you, our conversation, any questions, any other follow-up questions or stories that you would like to share with us, you can reach us by emailing us at talksatasiantome@gmail.com, or you can also reach us to our socials. Our handle is @talksatasiantome, and we'll also make sure to tag Serena and Ira Essentials on our post as well. So we really, really appreciate you, Serena, for taking the time to talk to us, and congratulations on your launch. We're so excited for you. Like, this is amazing. And yes, we're here to
just
support
getting started on your journey.
Yes.
And thank you for being our first guest expert. You've been lovely.
Yes. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes. I hope it all goes well for you as well, ladies.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And everyone can catch us at our next episode, which will be coming out soon. All right.